A construction worker dropped his tools and ran screaming from Alcatraz Island last month. He had just broken through a wall that wasn't supposed to exist, and saw something that made him quit his job the same day. The authorities tried to keep this quiet, but the truth is finally coming out, and it's more terrifying than any movie you've ever seen. I'm about to show you real footage and evidence that will change everything you thought you knew about America's most dangerous prison. But first, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this story is just the beginning of what we found buried beneath Alcatraz, and you won't believe what's coming next. 3 months ago, Mike Thompson was just doing his regular job fixing pipes under the old prison when his drill hit something hollow. He expected to find another water pipe or maybe some old military storage room. Instead, his drill broke through into complete darkness. When he shined his flashlight into the hole, he saw metal bars, rusted chains, and something that looked like a hospital bed with leather straps still attached to it. Mike had worked construction for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. He immediately called his supervisor, who called the Park Service, who called the FBI. Within hours, the entire area was sealed off and a team of experts was brought in to investigate. The official story was that they were doing routine maintenance, but that's not what really happened. A team of archaeologists, FBI agents, and historians spent the next 2 months carefully exploring what they found beneath the prison. They discovered a whole network of rooms and tunnels that don't appear on any official map of Alcatraz. These weren't the known military tunnels that tourists sometimes see. These were secret chambers built during the prison years, and they were used for things that were never supposed to be discovered. The first room they entered was about the size of a small house. The walls were lined with cells, but these cells were different from the ones upstairs. They were smaller, darker, and had no windows. Some of them had scratches on the walls where prisoners had tried to claw their way out. The team found personal items scattered on the floors, glasses, shoes, and even some old photographs of families. But the strangest thing was that according to prison records, some of these items belonged to prisoners who had supposedly died of natural causes years ago. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, who led the investigation, said she had studied prisons for 30 years but had never seen anything like this. The construction was professional and expensive. Someone had spent a lot of money to build this secret facility beneath the main prison. The walls were thick concrete, the doors were heavy steel, and there was even a ventilation system to bring in fresh air. This wasn't something that guards had built in their spare time. This was an official project that had been carefully planned and funded. As the team moved deeper into the underground complex, they found more disturbing evidence. There were rooms filled with medical equipment that looked like it came from a hospital, not a prison. They found machines for taking X-rays, equipment for measuring brainwaves, and cabinets full of drugs that were used for controlling behavior. Some of these drugs were experimental medications that weren't even available to regular hospitals at the time. The team also found detailed medical records showing that certain prisoners had been given these drugs without their knowledge or permission. The most shocking discovery came in what appeared to be the main laboratory. This room had operating tables, surgical equipment, and monitoring devices that could track a person's heart rate, breathing, and brain activity. On the walls were charts showing the effects of different treatments on prisoners. Some charts tracked how long people could survive without sleep, food, or water. Others showed the results of giving prisoners various drugs to change their behavior or memory. The level of detail in these records was incredible and terrifying. Among the documents they found were letters between prison officials and government scientists discussing experiments on prisoners. These letters talked about testing new ways to control people's minds, break their will, and make them more compliant. The scientists were particularly interested in prisoners who were considered the most dangerous or difficult to control. They saw these men as perfect test subjects because they were already isolated from society and had no one on the outside who would ask questions about their treatment. The investigation revealed that this secret program had been running for nearly 20 years, from the early 1940s until the prison closed in 1963. During this time, dozens of prisoners had been subjected to experiments without their knowledge. Some were given drugs that made them hallucinate or lose their memory. Others were kept in complete darkness for weeks at a time to see how it affected their sanity. Still others were subjected to extreme temperatures, loud noises, or painful procedures to test their tolerance for suffering. One of the most disturbing files they found belonged to a prisoner named Robert Hayes, who had been sent to Alcatraz for bank robbery. According to his official prison record, Hayes died of a heart attack in 1956. But the secret files told a different story. Hayes had been selected for experiments involving sleep deprivation and drug testing. For months he was kept awake for days at a time while being given various medications. The records show that his health deteriorated rapidly, and he eventually died from the stress of the experiments. His family was told he had died of natural causes, and they never learned the truth. The team found similar stories for at least 15 other prisoners. Men who had been reported as dying from illness, accidents, or violence had actually died as a result of the secret experiments. Their families had mourned their deaths, believing they had at least died with some dignity intact. The truth was far more horrific. These men had been treated like laboratory animals, subjected to procedures that violated every principle of human decency and medical ethics. The connection to broader government programs became clear when investigators found references to projects with codenames like MKUltra, Artichoke, and Bluebird. These were real CIA programs that tested mind control techniques during the Cold War. The documents showed that Alcatraz had been used as a testing site for these programs because the prisoners were completely isolated and under total government control. No one would miss them if something went wrong, and no one would believe them if they tried to tell their story. The equipment found in the underground facility was far more advanced than anything that should have been in a prison during the 1940s and 1950s. There were electroshock machines, sensory deprivation chambers, and devices for monitoring brain activity that wouldn't become common in hospitals until decades later. This equipment had been provided by government agencies and private companies that were working on classified military projects. Alcatraz had essentially become a secret research facility disguised as a prison. Dr. Walsh and her team also discovered that the underground facility had been connected to the main prison through a series of hidden passages. Prisoners could be moved from their regular cells to the secret chambers without anyone else knowing. The guards who worked in the underground facility were specially selected and sworn to secrecy. They were paid extra money to keep quiet about what they saw, and they were threatened with serious consequences if they ever talked about their work. The investigation also revealed how the program had been shut down. As the prison prepared to close in 1963, officials had to decide what to do with the evidence of their secret experiments. Rather than destroy everything, they had sealed off the underground facility and left it intact. They may have planned to return later to retrieve important documents or equipment, or they may have wanted to preserve evidence in case they needed to defend their actions in the future. Whatever their reasoning, their decision to preserve the facility had now exposed their crimes to the world. The legal implications of this discovery are enormous. The families of prisoners who died in the experiments are now filing lawsuits against the federal government. They want justice for their relatives and compensation for the suffering they endured. The government has admitted that the experiments took place but claims that they were legal under the laws of the time. However, legal experts argue that the experiments violated constitutional rights and international laws against torture that existed even in the 1940s and 1950s. The story has also raised questions about other federal prisons and facilities from the same time period. If these experiments were taking place at Alcatraz, were they also happening at other locations? Investigators are now examining other former federal facilities to see if they can find similar evidence. So far they have found suspicious construction and unexplained spaces at several other sites, but no discoveries as extensive as what was found at Alcatraz. For the public, this revelation has been shocking and disturbing. Alcatraz has always been seen as a place where dangerous criminals were sent to pay for their crimes. The idea that these men, no matter how terrible their original crimes, were subjected to medical experiments and torture has challenged many people's faith in the justice system. It has also raised questions about what other secrets might be hidden in government facilities around the country. The investigation is still ongoing, and experts believe there is much more to discover. The underground facility at Alcatraz was large and complex, and researchers have only explored a portion of it so far. They expect to find more evidence of experiments, more records of prisoners who were subjected to testing, and possibly even more facilities that haven't been discovered yet. Each new room they open reveals more shocking details about what happened beneath the prison during its operational years. The families of the prisoners are also conducting their own investigations. They are interviewing former guards, prison officials, and anyone else who might have knowledge about the secret program. Some former employees have come forward with additional information, confirming that strange things were happening at Alcatraz that were never officially documented. These testimonies are helping to fill in gaps in the official records and providing a more complete picture of what took place. This discovery at Alcatraz has fundamentally changed our understanding of American history during the Cold War era. It shows that the government was willing to sacrifice the basic human rights of prisoners in the name of national security and scientific research. It also demonstrates how easy it was to hide these activities from public oversight when they were conducted in an isolated location like Alcatraz Island. The full truth about what happened in those underground chambers may never be completely known, but what has been revealed so far is disturbing enough to shake public confidence in government institutions. The most recent development in this story happened just last week. The team discovered another sealed chamber that contained what appeared to be a communications center. This room had radio equipment, recording devices, and filing cabinets full of transcripts from conversations that had been secretly recorded throughout the prison. These recordings captured discussions between prisoners, guards, and even visitors who had no idea their conversations were being monitored. The quality of the equipment was impressive for its time, suggesting that intelligence agencies had been using Alcatraz as a listening post to gather information about criminal organizations and their activities. Among the recorded conversations were discussions about escape plans, criminal operations, and personal confessions that prisoners made when they thought no one was listening. Some of these recordings provided new evidence about unsolved crimes from the 1940s and 1950s. In several cases, prisoners had admitted to crimes they were never officially charged with, or they had provided details about accomplices who were never caught. This information is now being used by law enforcement agencies to reopen cold cases and potentially solve murders and robberies that had remained mysteries for decades. The recording equipment also captured conversations between prison officials and government agents who visited the facility. These conversations revealed the true scope of the secret program and identified additional government agencies that were involved in the experiments. The transcripts show that representatives from the Army, Navy, CIA, and several private defense contractors had regular meetings at Alcatraz to discuss the progress of various research projects. They talked openly about using prisoners as test subjects and showed no concern for the ethical implications of their work. Dr. Walst's team also found evidence that the secret program at Alcatraz was connected to similar programs at other facilities around the country. Documents referenced experiments being conducted at federal prisons in Atlanta, Leavenworth, and several other locations. There were also mentions of partnerships with state mental hospitals and private research institutions. This suggests that the Alcatraz program was just one part of a much larger network of secret research facilities that were operating during the Cold War period. The discovery has also attracted international attention. Foreign governments and human rights organizations are demanding answers about whether their citizens were subjected to experiments while imprisoned in the United States. Several families from other countries have come forward claiming that their relatives disappeared after being arrested in America during the 1940s and 1950s. They believe their family members may have been sent to facilities like Alcatraz, where they were used as test subjects and never released. The psychological impact on the families of affected prisoners has been severe. Many had spent decades wondering about the circumstances of their relatives' deaths or the changes in their behavior after being imprisoned at Alcatraz. Learning that their loved ones had been subjected to medical experiments and torture has reopened old wounds and created new trauma. Support groups have been established to help these families cope with the revelations and to assist them in pursuing legal action against the government. The government's response to the discovery has been mixed. Some agencies have been cooperative and have provided access to declassified documents that help explain the historical context of the programs. However, other agencies have been less forthcoming, claiming that much of the information remains classified for national security reasons. This has frustrated investigators and family members who want to know the full truth about what happened at Alcatraz and other facilities. Legal experts predict that the lawsuits arising from this discovery will take years to resolve. The government will likely argue that the experiments were conducted under different legal and ethical standards than those that exist today. They may also claim that the statute of limitations has expired for many of the alleged crimes. However, attorneys representing the families argue that there is no statute of limitations for torture and human rights violations, and they believe they have strong cases against the government. The media coverage of the story has been extensive, but much of the most shocking evidence has not been released to the public. Government officials have requested that certain documents and photographs remain confidential to protect the privacy of victims' families and to avoid compromising ongoing investigations. This has led to speculation that even more disturbing revelations may be waiting to be discovered as the investigation continues. The discovery has also prompted renewed interest in other conspiracy theories about government experimentation on unwilling subjects. Researchers are now taking a closer look at claims about secret programs at military bases, hospitals, and other government facilities. While many of these theories are likely false, the Alcatraz discovery has shown that some government activities that seem too outrageous to be true actually did happen. The underground facility at Alcatraz is now being preserved as a historical site, though it is not open to the public. Experts are working to catalog and preserve all of the evidence found in the chambers before it deteriorates further. The equipment, documents, and other artifacts will eventually be moved to secure storage facilities where they can be studied by researchers and used as evidence in legal proceedings. The story continues to develop as more evidence is analyzed and more witnesses come forward. What we've learned so far is just the beginning of a much larger and more complex story about government experimentation, prisoner rights, and the dark secrets that can be hidden beneath even the most famous and well-known facilities. This is without question one of the most significant historical discoveries of our time, and its implications will be felt for years to come. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on because we'll be following this story as it develops, and I guarantee you there are more shocking revelations coming that will blow your mind. Like this video if it opened your eyes to the truth about Alcatraz, share it with friends who need to know this story, and let me know in the comments what you think about these discoveries. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll reveal what other government facilities might be hiding similar secrets.